Good evening. My name is Dr. Rosette Allegretti, and I have the privilege of serving as the Assistant Dean and Director of Certification in the School of Education. On behalf of the University President, Dr. Conrado Bobby Gempesaw, the Board of Trustees, the University Administration, and the faculty and administration of the School of Education, it is my pleasure to welcome you to the 2017 Graduate Commencement Exercises for the School of Education. Please stand for the singing of our national anthem, which will be led by Remy Martin, member of the St. John's University Voices of Victory and the School of Education Class of 2018. Immediately following the singing of the national anthem, please remain standing for our invocation, which will be delivered by Dr. James Walters, Director of Catholic Scholars Residence Ministry, Office of University Ministry.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave a proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Let us pray. Loving God of us all, we call down your blessings on these graduates as they go forth to do the work you set before them. May they see their academic degree not only as accomplishment, but also as a responsibility. May they be agents of service in a world filled with need. May they be agents of compassion in a world of indifference. May they be agents of justice in a world of injustice. Lord, we ask for the grace for these graduates to lead by example, being inspired by St. Vincent de Paul, and as we celebrate the 400th anniversary of the Vincentian Communities Foundation, give us all the strength to meet the great need for love with works of love. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Thank you, Remy and Dr. Walters. Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, I am delighted to welcome the Dean of the School of Education, Dr. Michael Sampson.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to your night, your commencement. We're so glad we're here, and after that song, I think we've already had a great success. That was beautiful. You're in for a special treat. Our commencement speaker, Professor Emeriti of Language, Literacy, and Culture at the University of Massachusetts Amherst, Dr. Sonia Nieto has written widely on multicultural education, teacher education, and the education of students of culturally and linguistically diverse backgrounds. You've read some of her books in your classes, I'm sure. She has taught at all levels from elementary school through graduate school, and she has been recognized for her research, advocacy, and service with many awards, including 4 honorary doctoral degrees. She has won several awards in her field, most notably the Multicultural Educator of the Year Award from the National Association for Multicultural Education and the Educator of the Year Award from the National Council of Teachers of English. Sonia was raised nearby in Brooklyn, New York, where she attended the public school systems until eventually attending, guess where? St. John's University, where she received her bachelor's degree in elementary education. Later, she studied abroad in Madrid, receiving her Master of Arts in Spanish and Hispanic Literature. In the following years, she taught in Brooklyn and the Bronx until moving to Massachusetts and receiving her doctorate in curriculum studies with a concentration in multicultural and bilingual education from UMass. Sonia has written dozens of journal articles and book chapters, and also is the author of numerous books, including my personal favorites, The Light in Their Eyes and Why We Teach. I'm also pleased to share that Sonia's sister is here tonight. Welcome, Lydia Cortez. Lydia, stand up. We want to recognize you for having such a great sister. Thank you. I've known Sonia through the years for her outstanding advocacy for people of color and bicultural groups. At St. John's University, we live to serve through our Vincentian mission. I believe Sonia came under the influence of her mission in her undergraduate years here, and her life has been the internalization of that mission and the practice of it as she has reached out to those in need. More so, her focus has not been on what people are missing or deficit in, but on amazing talents that all of us as human beings bring to life. And that's the biggest part of her story as we celebrate diversity. So, I noticed that Sonia had a new book. It was written a couple years ago. I hadn't read it, so I bought it, and I put it on my iPhone, and I started reading it, but I didn't have time, so I put it on my nightstand. And I woke up at 2 o'clock, and I couldn't go back to sleep, and I thought, I have a big day, I need some sleep. I know I'll read a boring book. So I picked up Sonia's book, and I started reading. Oh my gosh, you won't believe what happened. The sun came up, and I was still reading. It wasn't boring at all. It was exciting. And so that's the kind of speaker you're going to have tonight. Not a boring commencement speaker, but an exciting person that's going to touch you and challenge you as you move on to use this new degree that you've earned. So join me now in welcoming our very own Sonia Nieto back to St. John's University.
Well, thank you so much. Please excuse the sunglasses. I'm not trying to be mysterious. I just had eye surgery recently. And I'm thrilled to be back here. President Gempesaw, members of the Board of Trustees, Provost Mangione, Dean Sampson, Dr. Spiridakis, who's this year's Grand Marshal, members of the faculty and administration, family, friends, and especially the 2017 graduates of St. John's University School of Education. Congratulations to you all. I want to also offer my hearty congratulations to your families, the people who gave you the moral, spiritual, and financial support to reach this goal, and to the faculty and staff here at St. John's University who have prepared you with the intellectual and practical resources to continue your journey in our profession. It was a day much like today. Specifically, I looked it up. It was Sunday, June 13th, 1965, when I stood where you stand today, although as an undergraduate, graduating with my Bachelor of Science in Education, ready to graduate from St. John's University and to start my professional career. Little did I imagine then that I would be here 52 years later delivering the commencement address. I'm honored to do so. Oh, thank you. My graduation day was, in fact, the only time I came to this campus because my sister Lydia, who's already been introduced, who's here with me today, and I both attended the Brooklyn, quote, campus, an 11-story building with 2 Quonset huts on Schermerhorn Street. Not much of a campus, but we loved it. I returned to St. John's more convinced than ever that I made the right decision in freshman year when I declared education as my major. Let me start by commending you for having chosen the noble profession of education. Whether you're a teacher, an administrator, a guidance counselor, or other education professional, you certainly didn't choose it because of status or money or fame. If so, you made the wrong decision. Instead, you're here because of vocation and calling, because you believe in the benefits and rewards of education, and because you know that education is the bedrock of democracy. Whether you're motivated by the desire to bring dignity and respect to your students' lives, or by religious conviction, or by a moral imperative, you have decided to be, to quote Mahatma Gandhi, the change you want to see in the world. As a teacher, educator, and researcher for over 50 years, I see education as resolutely exciting and stubbornly hopeful, as the most consequential field and endeavor one can enter. These are ideals that countless people have fought for, giving their toil, sweat, tears, and in some cases, even their lives to advance and support. But even though it's full of grand promises, it hasn't always delivered, especially for the most disenfranchised and marginalized in our nation. These are our greatest responsibility, one that I hope you take seriously every day. I know that St. John's has prepared you with the vision to do so. The St. John's commitment to social justice, diversity, and equity is one that I'm truly gratified to see. But diversity at this institution was not always the case. When Lydia and I were here, there were only 3 Puerto Ricans at the Brooklyn campus, and we were 2 of them. I had 1 African-American friend, and I believe he was the only one on campus. Our diversity consisted at the time of being either Irish or Italian at our campus. Then there was nothing on our courses about us, Puerto Ricans, or people like us, and social justice was not a term that we heard very often. Nevertheless, these issues have defined my professional life. The movements for bilingual education, multicultural education, social justice, and equity were not to make their appearance for several years, but I learned some important lessons at St. John's, lessons that have endured. They helped me become the teacher I have become. I also want to say that it gives me such great joy to look out at the graduates and at the graduates' families and friends to see this incredible diversity. It was not something I could have imagined 52 years ago. It is truly, truly beautiful. And Lydia and I loved our friends at St. John's 50 years ago, but this diversity was missing, and it's so gratifying to see it. So the first thing I learned at St. John's was that we, quote, need to start where students are at. This was the best piece of advice I ever received in my own teacher education. It's hardly new or novel advice, and yet it bears repeating. Start where students are at is a lesson that's come in very handy over the many years that I've been an educator, not only when I taught 4th grade, but also when I taught undergraduate and graduate students. Start where students are at means that we must respect and affirm who they are while not asking them to leave their identities behind. Education is about opening doors, exploring new possibilities, but not by closing doors or discarding our identities. Because we're all the result of our upbringing and experiences, as well as of particular social contexts, we're all limited in our knowledge, our perspectives, and our sensibilities. So even when I taught undergraduate and graduate students, I needed to start where they were at, Rather than blame them for what I might view as narrow-mindedness or naivete, or as ignorance or racism, I simply needed to present them with other ideas which they might not have known. Not to change their minds, but to ask them to broaden their horizons. That's one of the most important roles of a teacher, whether we teach first grade or doctoral students. It's a role I've always taken very seriously. A related lesson I've learned over the years is this: in order to be the best educator you can be, you need to know yourself. Recognize your talents and your strengths, as well as your blind spots and biases. Roger Wallace, who's a teacher now retired, who I interviewed for a book I wrote several years ago, brought this lesson home for me. The only African-American male teacher in his school for 39 years, he retired a few years ago. He said that to be successful with students of diverse backgrounds, you need to, quote, put your stuff away. The best 4 words that I think could be the foundation of any education. He was referring to the misperceptions, prejudices, and just plain old ignorance that all of us carry around with us. Don't look at a young person who doesn't yet speak English as a non-English speaker, but rather as a person who already speaks at least one other language. Don't look at a student being raised by one parent rather than 2, or by grandparents, or by 2 moms or 2 dads as fundamentally flawed, but rather as someone rich in experience. Don't look at a student who lives in poverty as uneducable, as a lost cause, or as the term that was in vogue when Lydia and I were in school, or new teachers, as culturally deprived, but rather as what educator Paulo Freire has called a person in the process of becoming, as we all are. Roger also said that he learned an important lesson from his stepfather, a skilled carpenter. There's never a bad piece of wood, his stepfather told Roger. There's only wood that needs extra planing. This is a good reminder that the beauty of any piece of wood or of any human being becomes visible only through hard work and persistence. Roger's sentiments bring us to another lesson I've learned from the teachers and students I've had the privilege to work with. In order to be an effective teacher, you need to know your students, truly, truly, deeply know them. Teaching content is important, of course, but as I'm sure you've all learned in your own work, whom you teach is just as important as what you teach. There's no such thing as a generic student. Every student comes to us with his or her own gifts, intelligence, culture, and experiences, as well as with specific needs and wants. Learning what those are is a central role of an educator. Here's an example from Ron Morris, a pseudonym for a student we interviewed over 2 decades ago for my first book, Affirming Diversity. Ron had been unsuccessful in most of the 10 years he had been in school, having been suspended, expelled, and even arrested. Ron spoke about an African-American history course he took in 8th grade. It was the first time, he said, that he learned anything about his own background in school, and it had riveted him. Ron said, "I felt comfortable in school once in 8th grade. I just felt like the realest person on earth." It's tragic to me that someone felt comfortable in school only once in the decade he had been in school. Sadly, I know that Ron isn't the only one. I hope all of you make sure every day to make all students, quote, feel like the realest person on earth. Also, be wary of received truths or conventional wisdom. That's something that I've learned over the years. Teachers and other educators need to be courageous and confront what they know is wrong. This came up a number of years ago in 2 interviews that I did for a research project. Angeles Perez, a 4th grade bilingual teacher in Texas when I first interviewed her, and Marisela Mesa Buenrostro, 6th grade teacher in Southern California, as brand new teachers were both counseled to, quote, not smile until Christmas. Fortunately for their students, they knew in their hearts that this was specious advice. Angeles was astonished at this advice, actually, saying, not smile until Christmas. That means you don't have a relationship with them until Christmas. Marisela, who before her first day of teaching had many sleepless nights because of this advice that she had learned from more veteran teachers, said, "The day came, I saw my students, and everything those teachers told me I just put to the side. I was myself. I smiled at them." Advice about smiling might seem like a mundane example, but there are many more far-reaching examples of received wisdom. For example, that children of some backgrounds are not college material simply because of their race or ethnicity or social class. My own sister was told this when she was in high school, but luckily in her case, instead of discouraging her, it motivated her to pursue a college education. After attending St. John's, she went on to earn a master's degree. She is now a published poet, well-known and highly respected in her field. I hope you've also questioned the idea that incessant high-stakes testing will create smarter students, or that the value of teachers can be measured by their students' test scores, and that privatization is the answer to the problems of public education. I hope you challenge all of these so-called truths and others. If not, I fear for the future of public education and its promise of equal opportunity for all students. I also learned pretty early on that teaching is a political endeavor because it can make the difference between a life of hope and promise and one of hopelessness and despair. Education is political because it's about advocacy, privilege, and power. It's about who has power and how it's used. It helps us answer the question, what do I stand for? To paraphrase educator Paulo Freire again, it also helps us confront what I believe is the quintessential question in education. For whom and on whose behalf am I teaching or administering or researching or being a guidance counselor? For whom am I an educator? It's political in both little and big ways. It's evident in how a teacher organizes her classroom, or how a teacher lines up his students, or in the stories a teacher chooses to read to them during story hour. That education is political is also evident in big things, whether it's questioning the corporate takeover of education, fighting for equitable funding for the schools and students most in need, standing by disenfranchised families, or challenging racist comments and actions in school and out. Finally, one constant lesson I've learned is that love is at the center of teaching and of education. This should be evident, of course, but as we know, the word love is not heard very often in the current discourse on education. Instead, the most common words in education today are rubrics, templates, AYP, underperforming, and other terms associated with pressures to teach to the test. Permit me an example of love on a more personal level. My daughter Alicia is an ESL teacher in her 22nd year of teaching. She writes a weekly blog that some of you might be interested in. It's called maestrateacher.com. And it's full of wise advice and of the joys and frustrations of both teaching and parenting. I'd like to share part of a blog she wrote a couple of years ago. Alicia wrote the following: "Every time I think about my first year of teaching 20 years ago, I realize just how little I knew and understood about teaching. I was a new young teacher. That first year, I wanted desperately for my students to like me. I was only 7 years older than some of them, had recently lived on my own in Paris, was one of the younger teachers at the school, so I did have some element of coolness. I remember feeling so happy and relieved when after the first week, my supervisor said to me, 'Only good things are being said about you.' It wasn't until years later that I realized that it doesn't matter so much whether or not your students like you. More importantly, do you love them? And do they feel that you care about them? I now know that I shouldn't have spent so much energy worrying if they liked me. Now I believe that while it's great if you also like your students and they like you, it's more important for them to feel you care about their learning, their future, and their well-being." So that's Alicia, part of Alicia's blog. Let me end with a more lighthearted piece of advice, one just as important as the others. 3 words: have a life. I'm sure you know what I mean. Have a life. You spend your own money to help your kids and to continue your education. Your heart aches when you hear student stories about the challenges they face. You put up with the constant disrespect of teachers and other educators in the media. You stay up for hours correcting papers and planning your classes. Nevertheless, although life in education can and often is exhausting, time-consuming, and frustrating, it should also be joyful and exciting. Please make sure to create moments for joy and also to have other outlets in your life that are equally fulfilling. Spend time with those you love. Exercise, meditate, read, hang out. Here's an example from Hyung Nam, a high school teacher from Portland, Oregon, who I interviewed for a research project a few years ago. Hyung responded to my question about how he thrives as a teacher. He answered that he tries to find beauty all around him, saying the following: everything from commuting to work by bike as much as possible, seeing a deer off the road, or seeing the moon rise, coming home and doing yoga or going out with colleagues for happy hour. I think everything, he continued, that makes me love the world and love being alive and want the world to be a better place, all of these things help me thrive. So this is my hope for you. May you thrive in all that you do. Your students and your nation deserve no less than your intellectual gifts, your energy, your commitment, your love, your sense of humor, and your patience. So congratulations, and continue to make your mark in the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nieto. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dr. Kent Kelso. I'm the Associate Dean for Administration and Student Success for the School of Education. At this time, President Gimpasaw, Provost Mangione, Dean Sampson, allow me to acknowledge the special people most responsible for the education of our students. Students, I want you to pay attention now, okay? The faculty and administration of our college, whose unwavering commitment to academic excellence is evident in the achievements of today's graduating class. It is with great pride that I ask all of our faculty and academic deans to stand and be recognized for their commitment to the graduates we today honor. Please stand. Thank you. It now gives me great pleasure to introduce Dr. Autumn Cypre, Associate Dean of Research and Graduate Studies, who will read the citations for this evening's events.
Good evening. It is my privilege to invite Dr. Renee Parmar, the Chair and Professor of the Department of Administrative and Instructional Leadership, to come forward to present the 2017 Dr. Jean Geisert Outstanding Dissertation Award. This award is named in honor of Dr. Jean Geisert, former chairperson of the Department of Administration and Instructional Leadership in the School of Education. This year's recipient of the award is Dr. Tina Smith. Please come forward. Dr. Smith would want me to make sure that you knew the title of her dissertation is The Impact of Response to Intervention on Learning Disability Identification, School-Based Practices. Congratulations. It is now my privilege to invite Dr. Evan Ortlieb, professor and coordinator of the literacy programs, Department of Educational Specialties in the School of Education, to come forward to present the award for the 2017 Outstanding Dissertation Award in Literacy. This year's recipient of the Outstanding Dissertation Award in Literacy is Dr. Jennifer Hoffman. Dr. Hoffman would want me to tell you that the title of her dissertation is The Impact of Teachers' Perceptions and Their Instructional Practices on Reading Engagement of Typical and Gifted Students in Grades 3 through 5. Congratulations.
Once again, congratulations to our award recipients. I am now pleased to call upon Dr. Robert Mangione, University Provost and Vice President for Academic Affairs, to certify candidates for degrees.
President Gempesaw, as Provost, I have the privilege, on behalf of the Dean and faculty of the School of Education, to certify that the candidates who are presented for degrees have satisfactorily completed all coursework leading to those degrees. Graduates, please stand.
Having received the testimony of the Dean and the University Provost, that you, the candidates, have satisfactorily complied with all the requirements demanded by the statutes, by the authority vested in me by the Board of Regents of the State of New York, with the approval of the Board of Trustees of St. John's University, and as President of the University, I hereby confer the degrees named to these candidates and bestow on them every right and privilege attached to these degrees. Graduates, my personal congratulations.
Thank you, President Gempesaw. Graduates, please be seated. And now, the moment that you have worked so long and hard for, the presentation of the school graduates for individual recognition. We ask the members of our audience to please hold your applause until the names of all of our graduates have been called. Reading the names of our graduates will be Nancy Garifas, Coordinator of Accreditation and Program Registration in the School of Education.
The degree of Doctor of Philosophy. As I call your name, I ask each graduate to please come up to the stage to be hooded by your mentor and greet Dean Sampson. Evan Ortlieb, PhD, mentor. No. Diane Drummond, a phenomenological study of elementary school teachers' perceptions of their knowledge of inferencing in comprehension. Jennifer E. Hoffman, Certificate of Excellence. The impact of teachers' perceptions and their instructional practices on reading engagement of typical and gifted students in grades 3 through 5. the degree of Doctor of Education. As I call your name, I ask each graduate to please come up to the stage to be hooded by your mentor and greet Dean Sampson. Anthony Annunziato, Ed D., mentor. Linda G. Adams, Certificate of Excellence, 6th grade educational placement, a retrospective analysis of achievement through commencement. Charles M. Benvenuto, Certificate of Excellence, preparing students for advanced placement, an evaluation of the academic contributions of enrollment in pre-AP middle school programs. Whedon's E. Blanchard, a case study of a post-secondary pilot program that provides education to qualified homeless students at a private university. Cecilia Brock, Certificate of Excellence, School Superintendent's use of electronic communication technology and its impact on their efficacy as a school district leader. Nilgun Cheatham, Certificate of Excellence, Former English Language Learners, a case study of the perceived influence of developmental English programs on academic achievement and retention. Darlene C. Darch, Certificate of Excellence, Teacher Tenure and its Effects on School Climate and Culture, a comparative analysis of tenure-granting public schools and non-tenure-granting charter schools on Long Island. Jennifer T. Gargan, Certificate of Excellence, Exploring Social Emotional Learning and its Impact on School Climate. Brian W. Gasser, Certificate of Excellence, an analysis of the New York State real property tax cap's effect on Long Island public education. Jennifer Harrison Tansey, Certificate of Excellence, a comparative case study of public alternative schools and programs for students at risk of educational failure in New York State. Michael D. Inforna, Certificate of Excellence, a mixed methods examination of the relationship between teacher and administrator perceptions of their school as a learning organization and the degree to which students graduate college ready. Annie McCallion, Certificate of Excellence, Getting in Collaborative Gear, a qualitative case study of ENL and general education teachers' perceptions of each other's roles in co-teaching 3 through 5 classrooms. Richard A. Nasto, Certificate of Excellence, Relationships Among Mindset, Self-Efficacy, and Tony Wagner's 7 Survival Skills in the Elementary School Classroom. Allison Offerman Celentano, Certificate of Excellence, Flipped Classrooms, How Secondary Instructors and Administrators Define and Implement Flipped Instruction. Jennifer J. Olson, Certificate of Excellence, Cultivating Collective Teacher Capacity and Student Growth through Collaborative Data Analysis, a Grounded Theory. Linda D. Faffey, Certificate of Excellence, using the SAMR model as a framework for evaluating M-learning activities and supporting a transformation of learning. Michelle Janine Richards, Certificate of Excellence, a case study of the effects of English as a new language professional development on the efficacy of mainstream classroom teachers and the academic growth of English language learners. Richard Bernato, Ed D., Mentor. Danielle J. Ballard Eberhardt, Certificate of Excellence. The transformation of a middle school through the implementation of a social and emotional development and learning program, a case study. Gotcha. Is she up yet? Michelle Bermani, Certificate of Excellence. The extent to which principals' leadership and decision-making processes exerts influence on the operations of inclusion classrooms, including students with autism spectrum disorder at the elementary school level. Wait till Michelle's. Yep. Elizabeth A. Bradshaw, the effects of systemically implemented professional learning communities on the educational culture of a public school. Michael Brostowski, examining Long Island Public Schools superintendents and athletic administrators' perceptions of the role of the athletic administrator. Arlene B. Crandall, an analysis of the CAPE standards and EdTPA pre-service assessment system to determine the common components and disconnects between the two systems. Marissa Forbes Ingram, an exploratory evaluation of female sense of belonging and self-efficacy beliefs in undergraduate STEM mentorship programs. Martin K. Green, reasons the middle class is opting out of state standardized testing. Christopher J. Hale, Certificate of Excellence. The diffusion of personal technology in education, a phenomenological case study. Helen Maria Kanelopoulos, a comparative case study of youth mentoring programs in public schools in Nassau County, New York. John Patrick Classic, Certificate of Excellence, a comparative phenomenological study of the impact of teacher participation in virtual communities of practice on the level of professional capital within their respective organizations. Daniel J. Markwood, Certificate of Excellence, an examination of middle-level principles' perceived self-efficacy to enact change caused by the implementation of the Common Core learning standards. Ryan W. O'Hara, Certificate of Excellence, identifying the problem, an analysis of English supervisors' efforts to develop reflective practice among their teachers. Inette Sukwa, Certificate of Excellence, a case study of an examination of the transformational leadership practices that facilitate change and innovation. Kerry K. Titone, Certificate of Excellence, The DNA of 21st Century Schools, a mixed methods analysis of teacher and administrator qualities that facilitate innovation. Danielle Kristen Turner, Certificate of Excellence, the role of social media on the collective efficacy of secondary schools. Ben Davis Wiley, the relationship between the physical environment of schools and teacher morale, sense of belonging, and work ethic. James Reed Campbell, PhD, mentor. Sabrina M. Brancaccio Cantore, gender, attributions, perceptions of parent involvement, and their effects on middle school students' achievement. Reverend Marcellus Nar Gorlaku, examining attributions and perceptions of family influences on the achievement of the girl child in unisex and coeducational junior high schools in Ghana, West Africa. Brian Gorman, the influence of technology on mathematics achievement. Anthony Murray, blended learning versus traditional instruction as a predictor of student achievement in New York City public schools. Lisa G. Premdas, the impact of learning about technology in the context of action research as a professional development activity on teachers' self-efficacy and university development, a case study. Suki Cho, PhD, mentor. Madison Williams, the impact of the Anne Shannon method for teaching mathematics for English language learners' math achievement. Barbara Koza, PhD, mentor. Vivian E. Isom, African American male administrators who succeed despite the odds. Gina M. Killian, the relationship between student engagement and first-year retention, a correlational study of a Catholic urban university. Ebere T. Osu, computer-based learning as a means to increase behavioral and academic engagement of 8th grade students. Tina B. Smith, the impact of response to intervention on learning disability identification, school-based practices. Rosalba Del Vecchio Eddy, mentor. Andrea Carlene Hamilton, the relationship between goal setting and achievement during the transitional years of middle school. Tawanda Robinson, Certificate of Excellence. Exploring factors that influence middle school teachers' culturally responsive teaching efficacy. Mary Ellen Freely, Ed D, mentor. Salvatore Docena, Certificate of Excellence. Teachers' beliefs surrounding collaborative team teaching, mixed method study examining teachers' perceptions. Laura M. Holder Gibbs, The impact of career and technical education on adolescent literacy. Christine E. Klimek. The effect of music on English language learning for ENL students in primary and elementary classes. Claire Scordo Reinhard. Professional development as a predictor of student achievement scores on the 2002 8th grade NAEP reading assessment. Mark Secor, Certificate of Excellence. The impact of New York's annual professional performance review reforms on teacher practice in grades 4 through 8. Paul M. Miller, PhD, mentor. Shanine C. Allen. An investigation of ethnicity and sex differences in undergraduate student participation in high-impact practices using the 2015 and 2016 National Survey of Student Engagement. Patricia S. Reinhardt. Family factors that predict freshman college GPA. Elsa Sophia Marote, Ed.D. mentor. Graduates will be hooded by Renee S. Parmar, PhD. Michael J. Caravello. Popular music's influence on student engagement in middle school string programs on Long Island, New York. Christopher C. Verga. The impact no recognition, state recognition, and federal recognition have on the cultural identity of Long Island Native Americans. Renee S. Parmar, PhD, mentor. Joy Ann Dunca. Mindset and Resilience, an analysis and intervention for school administrators. Kimberly M. Mattis. The influence of student mobility on mathematics achievement and classroom climate in secondary education. Geetha Murthy, Certificate of Excellence, an investigation of the effect of interventions based on Common Core mathematical practices on the math achievement of struggling students in grade 6. Angela Petty Siegel. The relationship between spirituality and leadership practices of college students participating in a spirituality-based leadership development program at a faith-based urban Northeastern university. This is advanced certificate. The advanced certificate. As I call your name, I ask that each graduate please come up to the stage to greet Dean Sampson. Linda Acosta. Nzinga Antoine. Stacy C. Antoine. Sakina Campbell. Tara A. Kaperja, Certificate of Excellence. Tondra Collins. Caitlin Marie Corlett. Gerline Kothia. Latoya Facey. Marlene Feliciano. Maria C. Fernandez Lago. Christopher Forte. Carla A. Gavilanes, Certificate of Excellence. Mary J. Genova. Joseph Hernandez. Claire Susan Holohan, Certificate of Excellence. Melvin Jimenez. Dilrabo Kojeva. Claudia E. LaPlante. Jeanette Liriano. Vita R. Longitano, Certificate of Excellence. Adriana C. Malafronte. Carrie Ann McFadden, Certificate of Excellence. Jessica F. Morawski, Certificate of Excellence. Reed A. Otto, Certificate of Excellence. Angela Papetti, Certificate of Excellence. Ariadna Phillips Santos. Giselle A. Rasuk. Tiffany Rosario. Jessica Rosinski. Christina A. Seligson, Certificate of Excellence. Elizabeth Simona, Certificate of Excellence. Marianne Sladowski Bergen. Brian W. Smith, Certificate of Excellence and serving as our Student Marshal. Anticlea Spathis. Jeffrey P. Spence, Certificate of Excellence. Roxana Toro Ruiz. Stamatia Vas. Laura Michelle West. Gina A. Zacharia. The degree of Master of Science in Education. As I call your name, I ask that each graduate come up to the stage to greet Dean Sampson. Joanna Abad, Certificate of Excellence. Medali Alarco. Noura Fahad Ablihis. Stephanie Jo Elcamo. Sondos Almar Jahlani. Ali Al-Shawrani. Dawn Nicole Alvarez. Diane M. Ambroselli. Rachel M. Selem. Brendan J. Anderson. Marcel Aquino Bowden. Gregory M. Arnold. Stephen Arroyo, Certificate of Excellence. Viola M. Astorga, Certificate of Excellence. Jenny J. Bay, Certificate of Excellence. Jael Baez. Erica S. Bahana. Kelvin Raphael Balcasser. Angelica Balaram. Dominic Joseph Balzano. Matthew Barbehen. Matthew Bartels. John M. Barton. Jillian Batista Pizarro. Jedediah Bayudan. Kimberly Bensavenga, Certificate of Excellence. Paula Bensavenga. Alicia Bethia. Christian J. Bichello. Farida Buatora. Melissa Buganim. Arati M. Bukas. Melissa Bright, Certificate of Excellence. Valentina Brigulio. Karina Camisa Brown. Lori Ann Brown. Christopher Christopher Devon Burton. Moises D. Bustamante. America N. Calderon. Lauren Caitlin Calvin. Elpidio A. Camillo. Sean Ray Campbell. Catherine Jo Campos, Certificate of Excellence. Andisha Carbon. David Cesare. Shanshan Chang. Gayleen Charles Cuffey. Yibing Chen. Nicole Chewins. Jonathan Ching. Samantha Chu, Certificate of Excellence. Jornell Clark. Andreas M. Coleman. Amy Cork. Celestine T. Crichton. Brian Curry Hartman. Shani DeBush. Nicole Dean. Jennifer Rose Del Zotto. Anthony P. DeBella. Jessica Renee Dilly. Tony Ann DePalma. Gabrielle T. Dixon. Ebony Ellison. Julie Engel. Victoria M. Falciano. Elena Fainvitz. Laura T. Fazio. Ashley C. Feedy. Juewa Fong. John Finnegan. Alexandra Foucalis. Anna E. Friedis, Certificate of Excellence. Alejandro Alberto Garcia. Alexandra Garcia. Christine M. Garamone, Certificate of Excellence. Michelle Marie Garzone. Jasmine Maria Godet. Chianru Ga. Marielle Isabel Genovese. Joytrice Inez George. Jennifer A. Jackalone. Lauren Nicole Godbolt. Narendra Gosine. Brooke Marie Graniello. Catherine Campbell Gray, Certificate of Excellence. Quishon Marie Green. Rosa E. Guachechulka. Rachel Gercio. Francis M. Guerrer. Afra M. Harby. Denise S. Harris. Leah Kate Anna Hartfield. Evlis Henry. Jennifer A. Herber, Certificate of Excellence. Rashida Heslop. Gregory L. Holness. Claire Elizabeth Hoon. Melina Husos, Certificate of Excellence. Chunwen Huang. Brittany Hyde. Azubike Igwe Ebwe. Lauren M. Ippolito, Certificate of Excellence. Busharat Iqbal. Amna Irshad, Certificate of Excellence. Reverend James Isabakaki, Certificate of Excellence. Zariah Aquel Ivory. Jessica Monique Jackson. Rahat Mir Jalil. Meji Jean-Claude. Diana A. Jimenez. Jamil Jimenez. Mina Jinker. Bianca Johnson. Vandisha Jordan Hall. Amina N. Jumarali. Calliope Carides. Jasmine Khan. Kathleen M. Kilduff, Certificate of Excellence. Samantha Lynn Knight. Glenn A. Coble. Catherine J. Kenderman. Rona Coca, Certificate of Excellence. Teresa Marie Koja. Leah Krieger, Certificate of Excellence. Taylor A. Kruger. Glenn C. Kurz. Constance Lathouse. Amanda Lalena. Alyssa Lannon, Certificate of Excellence. Eugene, right? Eugene Lebedev. Jen Wei Lee. Jessica L. Linebaugh. Giselle Lewis. Jason M. Lewis. Kun Lee. Carmelo Licata, Certificate of Excellence. Yu Chun Lin. Kevin Liu. Ran Liu. Joanna Logan. Annie Cardelli Lopez, Certificate of Excellence. Cynthia Lopez. Quanell N. Lopez. Bianca Lugo. Jessica M. Lumetta. Daniela Makrinsky. Heather A. Mandelbaum. Deirdre N. Martin. Justin Martin. Melissa Matthew. Angelica Meche. Thomas Morrow. Sakina Mayfield. Janine M. McGovern. Michelle Elizabeth McGovern. Nora J. McKenney. Javen Antoine Meade. Marvin J. Mejia. Joyce Marius. Catherine Fridas Michalatos. Electra Milatos. Meredith Rose Minogue, Certificate of Excellence. Natalia Mishenko. Christina Ann Mokler. Luke Moffitt. Amanda Molian. Lisa A. Monaco. Jessica Marie Montana. David E. Morales. Matthew Morales. Christina N. Moses Miller. Catherine Murphy, Certificate of Excellence. John Edward Nelson, Certificate of Excellence. Erica M. Nielsen. Jasmine Nieves. Sister Cosmas Mary Njoko. Sehar Noor. Timothy J. Nowak, Certificate of Excellence. Anilsa Nunez, Certificate of Excellence. Katiuska Nunez. Esther Kosi Nyako. Cosmas C. Zabalu. Caitlin O'Connor. Injole Obonaya. Grace J. O. Megan A. O'Leary. Julie Opperman. Alexandra Orico, Certificate of Excellence. Maria N. Ortega Tenango. Danielle E. Ortiz. Griffin J. Osborne. Ashley Palma. Luigi S. Papasidero. Mona Lisa Paredes. Brittany? Brittany M. Osborne. Anna G. Park, Certificate of Excellence. Victoria Corinne Pasquarelli. Narali J. Patel. Paola A. Patino. David Peng. Michelle, hold on. Michelle Alexis Permal. Nerland M. Pierre-Louis. Scott Antoine Poirot. Gemechu Jonas Raga. Catalina E. Ramon. Nicole Lauren Rave, Certificate of Excellence. Daniela M. Rawlings, Certificate of Excellence. Avery Ann Rysick. Jason Ramboitsias. Fatima Rizwan. Brianna Lynn Rodriguez. Lillian Rodriguez. Maciel Rodriguez, Certificate of Excellence. Christine Ralston. Geraldine Rosario, Certificate of Excellence. Yamelva Rosario. Leanna Ross. Janelle Rudder. Nikia Jornay Russell. Michael Sanseverino. Jarissa Santiago. Lais C. Santos. Shirley Ann Scipio. Octavia F. Scott. Julia Sebastian, Certificate of Excellence. Talat Shazadi. Hongyan Shi. Eugene Shin. Christina V. Siguenza. Eugene Shin? Yeah. I just read him. He's right there? Eugene Shin. Well, they didn't check in. Jonathan Sharon. Sherman Sim. Mernette Simpson Smith. Allison M. Slutak. Stephanie Smith. Ray Denise Sosa. Marilia Souza Nelson. Andreas P. St. Clair. Caitlin A. Stook. Angel Suarez. Erica Leah Sumter. Nicole Suiaco, Certificate of Excellence. Gerald M. Tabasores. Nastasia M. Tangerlini. Sarah A. Termino. Rita Marie Tortonico. Gabriella Terzulli. Lauren Fales Thompson, Certificate of Excellence. Chanel M. Trenard. Jessica E. Truman. Lauren Turner. Jolika Ula. Wendy A. Vasquez. Samantha Marie Vesserin. Jamie E. Vetam. Joyce Wan. Natasha Warders. Nicole Z. Watt. Brittany Joy Weber, Certificate of Excellence. Brian Webster. Rachel Weissman. Frederick L. Wells III. Stephanie Widener. Brandon Alexander Williams. Guy Yasko. Esther Elizabeth Yunatanova. Yuting Zhang. Fanny Zhao. Winnie Zhu. Reverend Jude C. Zimoha. Day Fleck. At this time, I would like to invite our graduates to please stand. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the St. John's family, please join me in extending our heartfelt congratulations and best wishes to our newest alumni, the graduates of the School of Education, class of 2017. Please be seated.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor now to introduce Dr. Heather Robertson, Associate Professor and Clinical Mental Health Counseling Program Coordinator, Department of Counselor Education, in the School of Education, who will deliver our closing remarks. Dr. Robertson.
Good evening. President Gempasa, Dr. Mangione, Dean Sampson, Dr. Nieto, honored guests, family, friends, and most importantly, our new graduates. It is my absolute honor to speak to you this evening as you commence your graduate education and you begin your journey as doctors, masters, and specialists in your field. Some of you know that my own research focuses on career transition and life satisfaction, including career values and career identity. As I stand before a room full of newly graduated teachers, counselors, and school administrators, I am honored by the value of the vocations that you have chosen and by the power of your vocational identity. This inspiration drives me to discuss briefly 3 things with you this evening: vocation, vocational identity, and career values. The term vocation actually comes from the word vocare, meaning to call. As such, our vocations are often considered our calling. Each of you have been called to a profession of service. Teaching, counseling, and school leadership are each professions which assist others along their own personal journey of success. Whether you are a teacher working with a struggling student, or a counselor helping someone in crisis, or a school administrator who is seeking to establish a safe, effective, and welcoming school, you have each elected to serve others in this capacity. How beautifully these roles mirror our Vincentian value of service to one another. These roles are now a part of your vocational identity. Your vocational identity is your sense of who you are in your work world, including your goals, interests, personality, and values. Your identity now includes the role as a teacher, a counselor, or a school leader. In your new roles, you will showcase your skills and talents, which have been fostered for you by your faculty and by your field placement supervisors. As you deliver an engaging lesson and dynamic lesson for your students, you are a teacher. As you help someone make sense of their life after loss, you are a counselor. As you meet with parents and staff to chart your school's trajectory, you are a school leader. That is part of your vocational identity. That is who you are: teachers, counselors, and administrators. Of course, you are now also St. John's alumni. And as reflected in our core values, you've been given the opportunity to fulfill this role with excellence, striving, growing, and never being complacent. Our career values define what is purposeful to us and what is meaningful in our world of work. As stated earlier, many of you value service to others in your careers. Others value connection, creativity, opportunity, or flexibility. However, as alumni who've been trained in the diverse environment of New York City, many of your career values mirror the core values of St. John's University, the values of truth, respect, and love. Truth, that all children deserve a quality education, regardless of socioeconomic status, country of origin, or academic ability. Respect, respect for all cultures and differences, including English language learners, students with disabilities, and people who have mental illness. And love, or perhaps more specifically, passion. Passion for your career, for the students and clients you serve, for your school and for your community. A passion for advocating for those less fortunate. A passion to nurture the good in one another. It is unlikely that many of you developed your career values in a vacuum. More likely, your values were shaped and developed by people who you interacted with. Those who supported you throughout your lives, nurtured you, and helped you along the way. Perhaps that was a teacher, a counselor, or a school administrator. Or perhaps that was a family member or a friend. Maybe even somebody who's here in this room with you tonight. I'd like to ask our graduates to look around the room for a minute. Look around the room and find that family member or friend or support person who helped you along your own journey to success. And graduates, stand up briefly and give them a big round of applause. Why don't you applaud your family member and friends? Thank you. Well done. And thank you to our family member and friends, because you each play a role in your students' success and in bringing them here today. In closing, I would like to note that my own research focuses on those who have a sense of control and confidence in their new career are more likely to feel a sense of life satisfaction. You have already chosen to take control of your education by choosing to study at St. John's University, one of the top 100 graduate schools of education in the country. Yeah. Your confidence has been instilled by your faculty, by your academic rigor, and by your field experiences. So as you go forth from St. John's with that confidence and control, know that you have the tools to positively impact the lives of others every day through teaching, counseling, and leadership. In a world full of challenges, obstacles, and occasional ugliness, I encourage you to model the way for others, exemplifying the core values of St. John's University of truth, love, respect, opportunity, excellence, and service in all that you do. I wish you much success and satisfaction, and congratulations on your new accomplishment.
Thank you, Dr. Robertson. In a few moments, we will conclude the ceremony with the benediction offered by Deacon Patrick Dunphy, Director of Planning and Fiscal Affairs in the School of Education. Immediately after the benediction, the President's Society will exit, followed by the Grand Marshal, who will lead the stage party and the faculty from the ceremony. During this time, I ask the audience to please remain seated until all have left. To our graduates, we wish you the best of luck as you move on to new challenges and opportunities. We are confident that you, the class of 2017, will make us all proud, and you will all continue to make a difference in our world. And now, to conclude our ceremony, I ask that you please rise for the benediction. Congratulations, class of 2017.
I'd like to focus in these closing comments on a couple of things about the Vincentian mission. And to put that in light of what I'm about to say, I want to repeat to you this quote from Theodore Roosevelt. To educate someone in mind and not in morals is to educate a menace to society. Forgive me, my eyes aren't what they used to be. This is why the combined effect of joining your studies with the Vincentian mission of St. John's University is so critically important. Merging the virtue of the Vincentian mission into the academic, professional, and social life of St. John's students is what makes your diploma so much more than a piece of paper. Tonight is less about the few years of study. Rather, it is about the gift you have received and your inclination to use it for the good of others. Your ministry in this troubled world is destined to be driven by the Vincentian mission, and it should make everyone in this room very, very proud. Father, help us not to look forward in fear. Instead, may we look to the future, filled with hope. Remind us that no matter what happens, you will lead us safely through, because we are your very own, and we are confident you will carry us in your arms. We have faith, O Lord, that you will neither shield us from suffering, or give us unfailing strength to bear it. Put us at peace and give us the grace to put aside all anxious thoughts that only serve to distract us from what must be done. Heavenly Father, we ask that through the intercession of Saints Vincent de Paul and Louise de Marillac, you grant us the courage to move forward in our quest to do your will. Amen. Congratulations to all of you.